Her father's punishment led to amazing turn of events that revealed hidden love and life-changing connections. Emma was always the light in their faded Midwest town, where the crumbling storefronts and quiet streets whispered stories of a better time. At just 16, she felt the weight of her little world pressing against her heart. Raised by her strict father, a proud veteran, their home echoed with rules and silence. The house hummed with unspoken words, and Emma's spirit craved to fly beyond the confines of her father's protection. The moment she met Kyle, everything changed. He walked into her life with a simple smile that lit the darkest corners of her heart. Their laughter danced in the air like sparks from a fire. But Kyle didn't fit her father's mold. He came from an economically struggling family, and the moment her father caught wind of their blooming relationship, it all erupted. "Emma! You'll stop seeing that boy," he bellowed, his voice echoing through their small home like thunder. The punishment was swift, a grounding that felt like an iron cage. No phone, no friends, and all her school activities stripped away. Her heart broke a little more each day as the walls closed in around her. In the midst of it all, Mrs. Thompson became Emma's refuge. The sweet, endlessly compassionate woman ran the local community center, a place bursting with hope against all odds. Emma would sneak out whenever she could, pouring her energy into the center's programs. Each child found joy in the art and music they created, and Emma discovered hidden talents she never knew existed. The world outside was alive with laughter and creativity. It was everything missing from her own life. Just when Emma began to taste freedom, disaster struck their town. A fierce storm unleashed chaos, flooding homes and shattering lives. Fear gripped the community, but Emma felt a spark of determination ignite within her. "We have to help," she shouted to her fellow volunteers, a fierce resolve coursing through her veins. Her father watched from the sidelines, torn between pride and fear. He saw her, standing strong amidst the chaos, willing to fight for her community. It shook him to his core, making him confront his own struggles. He had always thought he was protecting her from the world, but in doing so, he had created a chasm that was growing deeper every day. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emma rallied people to rebuild, emotions flared within her father. In a heated argument, voices raised higher than the storm, they confronted what it meant to provide for family, the cost of fear, the burden of misunderstanding. Each word cut deep, revealing their raw emotions, a father desperate to shield his daughter and a daughter longing for freedom and acceptance. Silence engulfed them in the aftermath, thick with tension yet laden with the potential for change. Every unspoken feeling hummed in the air, waiting for the moment when love might finally break down the walls that had kept them apart. Emma's heart drummed a rhythm of hope, while her father stood on the edge, poised between past wounds and the promise of tomorrow. Would they seize this chance to bridge the gap? Or let old fears keep them locked in a painful cycle? Emma stared at the cracked foundations of houses, the remnants of lives once full of laughter and warmth. The smell of wet earth filled the air, mixed with the scent of damp wood and a sweet hint of desperation. She had never realized how fragile their world really was, but here it was, laid bare in front of her. It should have been a time of joy, the chance to unite and rebuild, yet the tension in her home mirrored the chaos outside. Days passed, and the community worked tirelessly. They painted over the grays with vibrant colors, replanting trees and breathing life back into their town. Still, the silence at home weighed heavier than anything nature had unleashed. Emma's father rarely spoke unless he was barking orders or handing out tasks. She caught sight of the pain etched on his brow, the worry for their home, for her, and the conflict that churned deep within him. After a long day spent stacking sandbags and handing out supplies, Emma returned home exhausted. When she opened the door, her father was standing with his back to her, staring out the window. The street was darkening, shadows creeping in. "Dad?" she ventured, her voice wavering slightly. He turned, his expression unreadable. "You should get ready for bed," he muttered, avoiding her gaze. "Can we talk?" She hesitated, the heart-pounding courage battling the fear of rejection. Silence held them captive for a moment. Then, with a heavy sigh, he nodded. They moved to the small living room, the peeling wallpaper echoing years of tension. "Listen, Emma," he began but faltered. "You've done so much out there. It's impressive." "Impressive doesn't fix what's between us," she replied, her voice firm yet gentle. "You don't see that I can handle more than you think. You're scared, Dad, but fear shouldn't make us drift apart." He looked down, his hands trembling. "It's my job to protect you." I thought his throat tightened, and he struggled to finish his thought. "What did you think?" She pressed, her heart hammering in her chest. "That if I kept you away from the bad things, you'd be safe. I was trying to keep you from pain." His voice cracked, revealing the vulnerability he worked so hard to bury. "But keeping me locked away only made me feel alone. This storm, it showed me what community means. We need each other." She paused, letting her words sink in. "And I need you too." The weight of the moment filled the air. Emma could see the conflict washing over her father's face, the fight between pride and love, fear and hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could meet in the middle. "Can we start to be honest with each other?" Emma asked softly, holding her breath. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I don't know how to do that. What if we took it one step at a time?" Tears brimmed in his eyes. "I'm trying." Just then, a sound broke the stillness, a soft knock at the door. They both turned, startled. Emma opened it to reveal Kyle, drenched from the rain, his face glowing with determination. "I came to help," he said, looking between Emma and her father, sensing the tension. Her father's eyes hardened, but something in Emma's chest ignited. Could this be another pivotal moment? "Dad, please. He cares about this town. He wants to make a difference." As her father's expression twisted between acceptance and resistance, Emma realized they stood at the brink of something important. Would her father take a risk for the sake of understanding? Would he allow love to seep back into the cracks they had both built up so carefully? Emma could feel the charged air thick with possibility, each second stretching out like eternity. The decision lay in her father's hands, but with Kyle there, everything felt different. "Let us talk," her father said finally, though his voice held uncertainty. The evening stretched before them like a new life waiting to blossom. Emma's heart raced with anticipation. What would happen next? Would this be the turn they had all been waiting for? Emma took a deep breath as she stepped back from the door, allowing Kyle to enter. His presence brought a flicker of brightness into the dimly lit room, yet the atmosphere crackled with unspoken words. She felt her father's icy demeanor juxtaposed against Kyle's warmth, and she worried about how quickly this could unravel. "Dad, Kyle's really dedicated to the recovery efforts," Emma said, trying to bridge the gap between her father's fear and Kyle's hopeful enthusiasm. "Dedicated doesn't mean he knows what's best," her father challenged, crossing his arms tightly across his chest. Kyle stepped forward, steady and sure. "With all due respect, sir, I've seen what we can accomplish when we work together. Your daughter is right. This community is better when we all join forces." Kyle's voice was confident but respectful, his gaze lingering on Emma for encouragement. Emma could feel the tension in the room with each passing second. What had once felt like a small victory in inviting Kyle to help now seemed to be a potential eruption. Her father's expression hardened, but there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, something he struggled to hide. "Why should I trust you?" her father finally asked, the challenge evident in his tone. Emma's heart raced. "Because he cares," she blurted, her voice firm. "You can see it in how he talks about the town. This isn't about just rebuilding structures, it's about rebuilding hope. She turned to Kyle, needing him to back her up. Exactly, Kyle said, his enthusiasm barely contained. We can plan events to bring everyone together, block parties, rebuilding days, anything. The more people we involve, the stronger we'll rebuild not just our homes, but our families and friendships too. She watched the flicker of consideration in her father's eyes, but she sensed hesitance still clinging to him. But why would you give your time when you could be helping in your neighborhood? Because this is my home too, sir. I grew up here. I want to see it thrive again, just like you. Kyle held his gaze steady, refusing to back down. Emma admired that about him, that unyielding spirit that seemed to resonate with her father's own stubbornness. For a long moment, a heavy silence settled between them. Emma shifted her weight from foot to foot, anxiety bubbling in her stomach. She felt the need to jump in again, to save Kyle from her father's sternness. Maybe you should give him a chance to show you what he can do. Her father finally unclenched his fists and sighed. Fine. You can help, he conceded, though his voice was rough, edges still jagged. But don't think it's going to be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is, right? Kyle responded, hope lighting his features even more. Emma could hardly breathe. Would this be the shift they had needed? Her father may not have fully accepted Kyle yet, but this was a small step nonetheless. Moments of unguarded honesty were rare, especially when it came to matters of the heart. The air in the room shifted. Emma felt a warmth swell inside her. This could be an opening, not just for her father, but also, perhaps, for her and Kyle. Over the next hour, they conversed about plans, putting forth ideas and suggestions. Her father's brow began to relax, the corners of his mouth even hinting at a smile. Emma couldn't help but glance at Kyle, who shared her enthusiasm, a playful grin taking over his face as he engaged in her father's spirited dialogue. As the evening wore on, her father finally leaned back and let out a deep breath. Maybe you're right, Kyle. Maybe working together will remind us that we're not alone in this. A smile broke free on Emma's face, a pure instinctive joy that lighting up her entire being. But just as they began to feel that shift, a loud crash erupted from outside, followed by panicked shouts. The tranquility shattered like glass. Stay here. Her father barked, darting toward the door. Emma's heart dropped. Dad, but he was already gone, leaving her alone with Kyle as the echoes of chaos poured into their home. Fear washed over her, swallowing the hope she'd just fostered. Do you think it's another storm? She asked, letting panic seep into her voice. Kyle took a step closer, his brow furrowed. I don't know, but we need to find out. With urgency sparking in the air, they followed her father's footsteps into the unfolding frenzy outside. Emma's heart raced, wondering if this was just the beginning. Would they face another storm, or would they uncover strength that even the fiercest winds couldn't shake? What awaited them in the chaos outside? Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she and Kyle burst through the door. The air outside felt electric, charged with fear and uncertainty. Shouts echoed through the neighborhood, voices trembling with urgency. She spotted her father at the edge of their yard, motioning frantically for them to come closer. Emma! Kyle! Get over here! He yelled, his eyes scanning the street, searching. They hurried toward him, the ground beneath their feet still damp from recent rains. As they neared, Emma's breath caught at the sight before her. A large tree had fallen across the road, its weight pinning down a car that had been parked too close. Glass glinted in the fading light, shards scattered like broken dreams. What happened? Emma gasped, dread pooling in her stomach. Her father turned, his face a mask of concern. It came down suddenly. No warning. We need to help those people. Kyle stepped forward, adrenaline surging through him. I can call for more help, but we should see if anyone's inside the car first. Right, Emma's father agreed, urgency propelling him forward. Let us check it out. Emma followed close behind, her pulse racing. She wanted to shout, to tell them to be careful, but the words lodged in her throat. As they approached the wreckage, the reality of the situation began to sink in. The car was silent, the driver's side crumpled and folding inward. Emma's eyes widened as she took in the scene, a gusting wind rustling through the leaves, like whispers of uncertainty. "Is anyone in there?" Kyle called, his voice powerful and calm, cutting through the chaos. There was no response, just the creaking of the tree as if it, too, was holding its breath. "Maybe we should call 911," Emma suggested, her voice quaking. "No time," her father said, glancing at her with determination. "We have to act fast." Working together, they moved closer, assessing the situation. Emma felt a strange sense of unity in the chaos. Despite the danger, the moment sparked something deeper within her. With Kyle by her side and her father taking charge, she felt an unexpected sense of belonging, as if they were becoming a team in ways she had longed for. "On three, we push," her father instructed, positioning himself at the rear of the car alongside Kyle. Emma held her breath, unsure if the tree would hold, if they would be safe. 1, 2, 3. They shoved against the vehicle, muscles straining, their combined force forcing the car slightly to its side but not enough. Emma's heart raced, fear and hope colliding inside her. She saw two children peering out from the back seat, eyes wide and frightened, sealed against the chaos. "It's okay. We're here to help," Emma shouted, trying to project calmness to the kids and to herself. Their small faces registered terror, and she wished she could reach out through the horror, be their reason to feel safe. "Help is coming," Kyle yelled back over his shoulder, eyes fixed on the children. "Just hold on." Just then, Emma felt the ground tremble beneath her. The tree shifted again, creaking loudly, threatening to fall further down. She glanced at her father, his face was set with fierce concentration. "Get back!" he shouted to Emma, his commanding voice snapping her back to focus. "Dad, no. You can't push it alone." But there was no room for doubt in his eyes. He turned back to Kyle, urgency dripping from his voice. "We have to support it until help arrives." Emma's insides twisted, torn between the fear that clawed at her throat and the fierce determination igniting in her chest. Would they risk their safety for those trapped inside? As her father and Kyle braced against the car, Emma reached for her phone, dialing emergency services. A wave of helplessness washed over her. Would they arrive in time? Suddenly, another loud creak silenced her thoughts, and she feared the worst. She glanced up, swallowing hard. "We need to hurry." Suddenly, a massive crash sounded, a rush of movement that sent Emma stumbling backward. She gasped, the air escaping her lungs as branches snapped, tumbling debris raining down. "Emma!" Kyle shouted, scrambling to catch her. Just in time, he wrapped his arms around her, steadying her. Their eyes locked, and she felt a flicker of recognition, the tremors of something beyond the immediate crisis. What if she whispered, the question hanging in the air unformed, yet fully alive? Would they uncover something new in the wreckage of today? But just then, an unfamiliar voice broke through the swirling chaos, shattering the moment. "Help is here." A fire truck screeched into view, lights flashing, sirens blaring. Emma felt hope surge, but anxiety gripped her heart. Would everything end up okay? As the firefighters emerged, the reality of the moment crashed in. What would they find within that wrecked car? As they moved forward with purpose, Emma's thoughts spiraled, tethered by a force greater than fear. Would their lives, and the people in the car, ever be the same again? Emma's heart raced as the firefighters quickly assessed the scene. They moved with a collected urgency, their movements practiced and precise. Emma's father stepped back slightly, allowing the professionals to take charge. She watched, her nerves tingling, as the firefighters exchanged swift instructions. One of them knelt beside the car, talking to the children through the window. "We're going to get you out, okay? Just stay calm, we're here to help." The sound of his voice seemed soothing, a lifeline amidst the chaos. Emma could almost feel the weight lift from her chest as she saw the kids nod, albeit hesitantly. A firefighter swung his axe to clear some debris. The sharp sound cut through the air, cracking like thunder. Emma grasped Kyle's arm tightly, heart pounding as she felt the vibrations in her chest. "Do you think they're hurt?" she whispered, fear swirling in her stomach. Kyle's eyes darted between the car and the men at work. "They look scared, but I think they're okay. The firefighters know what they're doing." His firm voice was a source of strength, but doubt still crept in, gnawing at her. Meanwhile, her father stood with clenched fists, scanning the horizon as if waiting for something more. Emma felt a mix of pride and worry for him. He was determined to be the protector, and while she admired that, she also wished he'd take care of himself. The firefighters worked to prop up the tree, using a heavy jack to relieve some of the pressure. She could see their muscles flex under the strain, their brows furrowed with focus. Emma's admiration for their bravery grew with each passing second. They were heroes, and they were saving lives. "Dad, maybe we should step back," Emma suggested, anxiety rising as she caught another glimpse of the children, who now seemed to be leaning against each other in fear. "There's no need to panic," her father replied, eyes never leaving the scene. "They'll be out soon. Just trust them." But even his voice wavered slightly, revealing a fracture in his resolve. A few moments later, a loud thud echoed as the firefighters managed to lift the tree just enough for the car door to swing open. "You're going to be okay," the firefighter reassured the children, holding a reassuring hand toward them. Emma held her breath. The scene unfolded with a tug of desperation. It felt like ages before they finally helped the first child out. A little boy, his face streaked with tears and dirt, emerged, wrapping his arms around the firefighter's knee. "See, you're safe now," the firefighter said softly, kneeling to meet the boy's eyes. Tears blurred Emma's vision as she exchanged relieved glances with Kyle. The second child, a girl, was soon brought out, her small frame trembling. The firefighters gathered them both, ensuring they were checked for injuries. They were alive. But just when relief began to settle over Emma, a sudden cry pierced the air, drawing her attention back to the car. A sharp intake of breath came from one of the firefighters. "Oh no, it's not just the kids." His voice carried a sense of dread that chilled Emma. "What do you mean?" Kyle whispered, his eyes wide. A wave of panic washed over Emma. "What's wrong?" The firefighter, still at the driver's side, seemed focused on something in the front seat. The atmosphere shifted again, the air becoming heavy with uncertainty. One firefighter emerged, shaking his head solemnly as he held something. She couldn't see what it was, but the expression on his face said more than words could convey. Emma's stomach twisted as fear clawed at her heart. "What is happening?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Emma, stay here," her father commanded, pushing back against the urge to rush toward them. Her eyes darted from the scene at the car to her father's face. The intensity in his gaze was gripping, revealing layers of emotions that left her shaky. It was as if she could see all his fears mapped out in his expression, fears that mirrored her own, yet she found herself yearning for reassurance, for strength. The crowd around her had grown, murmurs spreading like wildfire, sharpening the pit of her stomach. Emma reached for Kyle, fingers clenched around his wrist. In that moment of waiting, she couldn't help but wonder if the world was about to change again. What would they uncover? What hidden truths would come to light as lives intertwined in unforeseen ways? And suddenly, the realization hit her: sometimes, the most unexpected moments could reveal deeper connections, more profound than they had ever anticipated. The question loomed: would they all emerge not just from the wreckage, but transformed in ways they never imagined? Emma's breath hitched as she strained to see what was happening behind the car. The murmurs of the crowd intensified, a chaotic mix of concern and curiosity. Each minute felt like an hour, and she could feel time stretching, twisting around her like a coiled spring ready to snap. Kyle's grip on her hand tightened as they both watched the frantic motions of the firefighters. "Please, just let them be okay," Emma whispered, pleading with the universe. She cast a hopeful glance at the small boy now sitting in the arms of a paramedic, who was making sure he was all right. But that hope turned to desperation as another firefighter emerged from the shadows of the car. He held something, a cloth, stained and crumpled, but Emma couldn't make out what it was. The silence surrounding them thickened, every set of eyes drawn to the man's solemn expression. "There's someone else in the car," he said, his voice steady but lined with worry. "We need to get them out. Stay back." Dread pooled in the pit of Emma's stomach. She looked at her father, whose face had paled, as if the world around him had dimmed. A sense of helplessness washed over her. She wanted to ratchet up her courage, to scream for everything to be okay, but words stuck in her throat. "Emma, we should move," her dad finally said, his voice strained but clear against the rising tide of anxiety. "We can't get in the way. We're not helping." She nodded, though every part of her wanted to envelop her father in a hug, to hold on to that sense of safety he often provided. Their small group of observers began to shift, creating space as the paramedics rushed to assess the situation inside the car. Emma's heart raced, mimicking the frantic pulse of the world around her. "Emma," Kyle said softly, "we can find a better view over there." Without waiting for a response, he led her a few yards away, a comforting warmth radiating from his touch. From this vantage point, they could see the firefighters working tirelessly, some maneuvering tools while others communicated urgently with each other. A surge of anger washed over Emma. Why was this happening? It felt so unfair, like the universe had dealt them a cruel card that day. "Do you think it's apparent?" she asked, her voice shaky as thoughts raced through her mind. "Maybe that's why everything looks so serious." Kyle squeezed her hand again. "I don't know. But whatever happens, we need to just stay hopeful." Just then, the paramedic at the car looked up, his eyes meeting Emma's. In that brief moment, the weight of the world seemed to lift, replaced by a glimmer of solidarity and unspoken connection that lingered in the air. "Don't look away," he mouthed, then turned back toward the chaos. It was a small gesture, perhaps insignificant, yet it sparked a flicker of determination within her. With renewed resolve, Emma shifted her focus back to the scene, searching for any sign of movement inside the car. She was desperate for hope, the kind that could fill the gaping hole of fear threatening to swallow her whole. Minutes passed like broken glass, sharp and jagged. And just as she thought the weight of what was unfolding might completely shatter her composure, she saw the silhouette of someone being pulled from the wreckage. A hush fell over the crowd, as eyes widened, breaths held. It was a woman, slumped and unconscious but breathing. Relief surged through Emma as if she had taken a leap into cold water on a hot day. But that relief was quickly overshadowed by fear for the woman's condition. Would she wake up? Would she be okay? As the firefighter laid the woman on the ground, attending to her, Emma's heart pounded in her chest. There was more to this wreckage than just the obvious. Perhaps it was the beginning of a story they hadn't yet seen, one woven with deeper connections and buried truths. An explosion of lights flickered in the distance, an ambulance rushing toward them, the sirens wailing a sharp symphony of urgency. "Things are about to change," Emma whispered to Kyle, glancing at her father, his stoic face layered with worry. But it wasn't just there. Lives that were bound to be transformed. This was only the beginning of an unraveling that could lead to healing and perhaps even love as they faced the uncertain future ahead. As the ambulance doors flung open, Emma's heart skipped a beat. Who was this woman, and what secrets did she carry? The answers were on their way, hidden beneath layers of fear and hope, waiting to surface in the chaos of a rescue. The sound of the ambulance doors slamming open echoed through the air, a stark contrast to the hushed crowd. A team of paramedics rushed toward the scene, their movements sharp and efficient. Emma's hands trembled as she watched, heart racing against the backdrop of sirens and gasps. "Stay back!" shouted one of the medics, her tone firm as they began to assess the woman on the ground. Emma felt an urge to step closer, to see if she could help, but Kyle gently tugged her back, his eyes wide with shared concern. "Let them do their job," he murmured. Emma nodded reluctantly but couldn't tear her gaze away from the woman. There was something familiar about her. Emma shook her head, trying to focus. "Do you think she is going to be okay?" Emma asked, each word heavier than the last. "I hope so," Kyle said quietly, his grip tightening around her fingers. "We just have to trust them." The paramedics worked in swift silence, moving with precision as they examined the unconscious woman. Emma could see the worry etched on their faces. The weight of the moment felt unbearable, the air was thick with unspoken fears. With every passing second, the sense of urgency grew. Suddenly, from the back of the ambulance, a familiar figure appeared. Emma gasped, recognition swelling inside of her. It was her mother, racing toward them with her hair wildly blowing in the wind, panic stark on her face. "Emma!" Her mother shouted, a mix of relief and fear painted across her features. "What are you doing here?" Emma asked, shocked. "One of my co-workers called me. They said there was an accident and I've been worried sick." Her mom's voice wavered as she scanned the scene, and Emma's heart ached at the sight of her mother's worry. "Do you know her?" Emma blurted out, nodding toward the woman being treated. "No," but her mom broke off, glancing at the paramedics. "They'll take care of her. Right now, let us focus on that poor woman and let's make sure she has company if she wakes up." Emma felt a wave of gratitude surge through her. Despite the fears swirling in her mind, she suddenly felt less alone. As they stood there, tears glistening in her mother's eyes, Emma caught the gaze of one of the paramedics. He stepped closer, his expression softened as he looked from the woman to Emma and her mom. "We're doing everything we can," he assured them. "She is stable, but we just need to get her to the hospital quickly." The news hung in the air, heavy yet uplifting. Stable. Emma clung to that word, letting it cushion her heart. As the medics carefully loaded the woman into the ambulance, Emma's thoughts raced. What could have happened? Why was the woman unconscious? "Do you think she has a family?" she whispered to Kyle, who looked contemplatively at the ambulance. "Everyone has someone, Emma. We just don't always know their story." Their eyes met, and in that moment, an understanding passed between them, an unspoken promise that they would see this through together. As the ambulance pulled away, a sense of determination filled Emma. She wanted to know the woman's story, but more than that, she wanted to honor whoever she was, to recognize the family waiting for her. With her heart pounding, Emma turned to Kyle and her mother. "We can't just stand here. We need to go to the hospital, find out what happened." As they moved to follow the sirens, Emma felt a strange connection to the woman, an unknown bond that tugged at her heart. What stories awaited them at the hospital? Would they find more than just answers? Emma felt that they were caught in a web of shared lives, and she was determined to uncover the threads that bound them. As they rushed toward the hospital, Emma knew that this was only the beginning. What she didn't expect was how deeply this experience would change them all and perhaps, reveal hidden love along the way. The hospital doors swung open as they rushed inside, the bright fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Emma felt the urgency of the moment settle deep in her bones. The air was thick with the smell of antiseptic, mingling with unspoken tension. She clung to her mother's arm, seeking comfort in the warmth of her presence. "Where do we go?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as anxious families bustled about, their faces lined with worry. Kyle stepped forward, a cool calm washing over him. "We need to find the reception. They can tell us where to go." Emma nodded, her heart pounding against her chest as they made their way to the front desk. The receptionist looked up, her expression neutral. "Can I help you?" "There was an accident," Emma said quickly. "A woman was brought in. We need to know if she is okay." The receptionist typed frantically on her keyboard. "Please wait a moment." The silence stretched painfully long until she finally looked up. I'm sorry, but I can't give any information without a family member present. Emma's stomach sank. She wondered about the woman's family, if they were on the way, and if they knew what had happened. The thought gnawed at her. Are you a family member? The receptionist asked, breaking into Emma's thoughts. No, but Emma started, desperation creeping in. We just want to make sure she isn't alone. Please. Before the receptionist could respond, a doctor rushed by them. Excuse me. Emma called out, her voice cracking. The doctor paused, concern flickering in his eyes. She was brought in unconscious, Kyle interjected, taking Emma's lead. We're here to support her. She deserves that. The doctor weighed their sincerity, then exhaled, his expression softening somewhat. We're doing our best. She's being treated, but it's too early to say much more. Only family members are allowed in the room right now. As the doctor moved on, emotions crashed over Emma like waves. Frustration, fear, and a yearning to connect with the woman pulled at her heart. We need to stay, Mom. We have to do something, she urged, glancing at Kyle, who nodded in agreement. I know a way, Kyle said, suddenly confident. Let us go around the corner. Sometimes there are waiting areas or family rooms. They hurried toward a quiet corner of the hospital, finding a small waiting room bathed in soft light. A few chairs lined the walls, and it felt oddly peaceful despite the chaos surrounding them. Emma sank into a chair, her thoughts racing. What if we can't find her family? She thought aloud, staring at the floor. What if they don't even know she is here? I know you want to help, her mother said gently, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. But we need to take a breath and figure this out. Emma looked up. No. It's not just about that. I can't shake this feeling that I'm supposed to be here for her. Like I have this connection with her. Kyle leaned forward. What if we put ourselves out there? We could talk to some of the hospital staff, find out more. Someone has to know something. They discussed options, the need growing inside Emma like a wildfire. She felt a surge of determination. Suddenly, a woman entered the waiting area, wiping tears from her eyes. Emma felt a gut punch of recognition. It was the woman from the ground. Is she? The woman began, her voice trembling. Emma stood, feeling a mix of apprehension and duty. Do you know her? The woman's eyes widened. Yes. That's my sister. The words hung in the air, heavy with disbelief and relief. Emma's heart raced. This was the connection she sensed all along. But then came a thought that chilled her. Would the revelation pull them apart, or would it bind their lives together? Emma took a deep breath, ready to step into a world unknown, where life and love tangled tightly, waiting to be uncovered. What would the woman reveal about her sister's story? Would it change them all forever? Emma felt the weight of the woman's anguish, her own heart mirroring the pain radiating from her. Your sister is here, she began, grasping for the right words. She's receiving care. We're waiting to hear more. The woman's breath hitched as she cradled her face in her hands, the realization finally hitting her. I was on my way when I got the call. Why didn't I get here faster? Kyle stepped closer, offering a reassuring presence. You made it in time. That's what matters right now. Emma watched the woman, whose name she still didn't know, struggle to compose herself. What is her name? Emma asked gently. Lily, the woman sobbed, her voice cracking. Lily Ann. Each syllable was laced with longing and regret. As she spoke her sister's name, Emma felt a surge of urgency in her spirit. She wanted to know everything about Lily, her dreams, her laughter, how she made the world a little brighter, just like the light surrounding them. What happened? The woman asked, her eyes wide with both hope and fear. Is she going to be okay? Emma's heart lurched at the question, the uncertainty hanging in the air. I don't know yet. They said they're doing their best. Just then, the doctor who had initially brushed past them emerged from a nearby hallway. The trio turned, their eyes fixed on him with desperate anticipation. "Excuse me, Doc," Kyle blurted out, taking a step forward. "How's Lily? Is she stable?" The doctor paused, tension in his eyes as he looked from Emma to the woman to Kyle. "Lily is critical. We're working on her. She's currently in surgery, and I can't give specific details until we know more." The woman's knees faltered as she staggered back into her chair. "Surgery? Why didn't anyone tell me?" "We only just started," the doctor replied, a hint of compassion in his tone. "It's best to wait. Please, gather your thoughts for now." Turning away, Emma felt overwhelming emotions simmering beneath her skin. It wasn't just fear for Lily, there was something deeper, an aching desire to help, to be part of this woman's life in some way, even though they were removed through a series of accidents. "I can't just sit here," she said suddenly. "I need to do something." "What do you have in mind?" Kyle asked, raising an eyebrow with a mixture of support and caution. Emma glanced back at the woman. "Maybe we can find someone to get updates." Or she hesitated. "We could talk to the people in the emergency room. They might know more." The woman looked up, hope shimmering behind her tears. "Do you really think that could work?" "Why not?" Emma replied. "Let us try." With a sense of purpose igniting her steps, Emma led the way as they ventured toward the crowded hall of the emergency room. Families crammed together, their faces etched with worry, each one holding its own world of stories, anxiety, and love. As they approached the nurse's station, Emma's heart raced. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said, her voice steady. "We need information about Lily. Her sister is here, we just need to know if she is okay." The nurse looked up, her expression kind yet firm. "Can you wait just a moment? I'm sure someone will be with you shortly." Frustration bubbled inside Emma, but she took a deep breath. She wasn't giving up. Just as she opened her mouth to speak again, Kyle slipped his hand into hers. "Whatever happens," he murmured, "we're in this together." Emma nodded, feeling the warmth of his support. But just then, from the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of a man in a suit, pacing back and forth, his expression frantic. "Who is that?" Emma whispered, her heart beating faster as the unknown weighed heavy once more. Before Kyle could respond, the man stopped suddenly, looking directly at them, his face pale as if he had just seen a ghost. "Is she here? Is Lily okay?" he shouted, eyes wide with desperation. Emma's heart sank. Was this another piece of Lily's life unfolding before her? And what connection might this man share with the sister they were fighting to help? "Who are you?" she asked, her voice firm yet laced with compassion, ready to uncover another layer of the mystery. The man's eyes flickered with recognition. "I am her father." What secrets lurked behind those words? How would this shocking revelation change everything? Emma felt the air shift, heavy with the weight of those 3 words. "I'm her father." The man's voice cracked, each syllable laced with a desperation that echoed the anguish of the woman in the waiting area. "Your daughter is in critical condition," the nurse said softly, transitioning the tense energy into a moment of shared pain. Emma could feel the atmosphere tighten around them, wrapping them in a cocoon of uncertainty and hope. The man, who looked as if the burden of the world rested on his shoulders, stepped forward. "I need to see her. Is she alive? Can I see my Lily?" Emma wanted to reach out, to tell him everything would be okay, but how could she? She felt helpless, torn between her desire to comfort him and the reality of the situation. The nurse touched the man's arm gently. "Please wait. We're doing everything we can. I know it's hard, but I need you to take a deep breath." Emma leaned closer to Kyle, feeling the steady rhythm of his pulse beneath her fingers. "We need to help him," she whispered urgently. Kyle nodded, his expression resolute. Let us support them. They need each other. As the man stood frozen, his eyes darting between his daughter's sister and the uncertainty in the room, Emma called out softly, "You're not alone. We're with you." He turned, surprise flickering across his face. "You care about her?" "She matters," Emma affirmed, sensing the warmth blossoming within her. "All of this matters." Her voice grew stronger, feeling the unexplainable connection wash over her. "We will stand by you. You're not alone in this." Kyle wrapped a reassuring arm around Emma, solidifying their combined support as the man collapsed into a chair, his face cradled in his hands. The sister looked on, tears pooling in her eyes as she took in the sight of her father, an emotional chasm of years and distance. "Dad, I'm here," she uttered, inching closer. The man looked up, his expression fragile, full of both love and regret. "I didn't know I've been away for too long." Emma felt a strange sense of hope swell in her chest. Perhaps through this crisis, some hidden love would be unveiled, strands of a broken family finding their way back. They stood together in the quiet turmoil, listening to the sounds of the hospital buzzing around them, the faint beeping of machines in the background, a heart still clearly fighting to stay. "What if Lily pulls through? What if this brings you back together?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. A tremor of realization passed through them all. The possibilities of healing and reconnection bloomed in the air like fresh wildflowers after the rain. "I barely know you, Lily," the father murmured, anguish evident in his gaze. "I've missed so much. I thought I was protecting you, but I was wrong." Emma glanced at Kyle, who nodded back, both sensing this moment was pivotal. They were witnessing a shift, a chance for understanding to seep into the cracks of heartbreak. Then, with an unexpected clarity, Emma stepped forward. "I believe in miracles. I believe in the strength of family, even when the ties have been stretched thin." Everyone froze, captivated by the gripping emotions spilling out. It felt like they were all standing on the edge of something monumental, uncovering connection and compassion amidst chaos. Suddenly, the doctor emerged from the hallway, wearing the weight of heavy news. "We've stabilized Lily. She's in recovery, but still in critical condition. Her family can see her for a few moments." A surge of emotion flowed through them, a mix of relief and dread. The father stood immediately, wiping his eyes, as if gathering fragments of strength. The sisters intertwined their fingers, silent support binding them together. "Let us go," Emma urged, leading the way, heart racing with excitement and anxious anticipation. They stepped toward the doorway, the atmosphere electrified, filled with the promise of renewed bonds. As they entered the subdued room, Emma's breath caught. The soft beeping of machines welcomed them, the sterile scent of antiseptic lingering in the air. And amidst it all there was Lily. Pale but alive, the embodiment of hope. The father moved toward her slow but deliberate, like the pieces of his heart realigning. "Lily, it's me," he said, his voice trembling. "I'm here." The sisters grasped hands tightly, solidarity shared in the vulnerability of the moment. Emma felt a swell of unity, an awareness that not only lives were intertwined but destinies were being transformed in real time. As Lily's eyelids fluttered open, the room felt lighter. No escape could wipe away her family's history, but in that fragile moment of waking, everything shifted. Healing began not just of the body, but of the heart. Tears streamed down Emma's face, not of sadness, but of pure joy and the hope that reverberated within them. It was a reminder that sometimes, through tragedy's darkest hours, love had the power to illuminate the way forward. And just like that, the door of transformation swung wide open. Would they tread forward with new courage and start writing the chapters of their lives anew? This was the moment they had all been waiting for. Now, my dear friends, it's time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and transform. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the momentum going. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Let us know what it meant to you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. You are part of this incredible journey. Show your support and let us keep spreading love and connection to everyone.